Part 2. A knock on my door woke me up with painful difficulty. My eyes groggily opened with searing pain as I checked my phone. 5 o'clock. It wasn't even light out yet. I had probably slept less than an hour. The wind-up clock on my dresser had stopped midway through the night. "Come on," Aunt Cheryl prompted from the other side of the door. "You already had your day off, mister. Let's get to it." Sorry. I rubbed my eyes, sitting up and wincing. My alarm, the clock in my room stopped running. "Take it to Royce," she responded. "Once you've had some breakfast, your schedule's on the service counter." "Right," I nodded to my empty room. "Thanks, Cheryl." "Sure thing," she cheered. "I'm talking to contractors all day today, so if you or anyone else needs me, you'll have to wait until after 6 or just text me." "Gotcha," I responded, heavily swinging my legs off the bed and getting to my feet. "See you later, then." Her footsteps receded away from the door, and the sounds quickly muted away as my eyes caught my bedsheets, slush coursing through my veins. Blood. The sheets were splotched with a dark brown rust, almost green in color, it was so decayed. I frantically checked myself, seeing nothing out of place anywhere on my body. My heart rate quickened further, but with changing my clothes, it became clear that none of the substance was on me. Was it perhaps just some kind of bleach stain from when the sheets were washed? Taking all of my willpower to convince myself that the stains had always been there and that I would investigate later, I jammed a toothbrush in my mouth and hurriedly searched for my winter coat. It looked cold out today. The towering mountains daunting the manor were being choked out by a gray mist, a light, constant drizzle tapping fingers at the glass of my window. Just as I found my coat, another knock sounded at my door. "Yeah?" I spoke as I took the bulky swath of fabric off its hanger and frantically recovered my bed to hide the stains. "I'm almost there. Sorry I'm late. Slept in a bit too long." The other side of the door was silent. I frowned, having expected it to be one of my family members. I quickly threw the coat on and shoved my gardening gloves into the pocket. I spun around at the last second to also grab the broken clock before grabbing the door. And freezing. It was layered with scratches. As if something had tried to claw its way out. But that wasn't quite it. They were almost more like tick marks? I opened the door, meaning to immediately get the person outside's opinion before my heart staggered to a stop. Haze stood just beyond the threshold, hands carefully clasped in front of her. Her hair was tied back, glimmering earrings dangling softly by her pale neck. She seemed strangely comfortable in her pink dress, the design some weird mix of skimpy and business formal that almost made it appear like she was getting ready for an awkward high school prom. She did, however, have a super awesome drawing on her hand, some kind of dragon eating a lion. She smiled at my approach, quickly stepping forwards to greet me. "I am gravely sorry," she spoke. "Please excuse my rudeness, Mr. Matthews, but I have a slight favor to ask if you wouldn't mind." I blinked slowly, wondering how the hell she knew my name until I glanced down at the name tag on my uniform and winced. "Oh," I shook my head. "You're not interrupting at all, Miss Borden. Sorry, I thought you were someone else." "Oh, please," she laughed. "It's Haze. I gather you work here?" "Oh, absolutely." I nodded, trying to make up for before by giving this conversation everything I had. "I do general service work around the manor. What can I do for you, Haze? You look great, by the way. What's the occasion?" Shit. Was it okay to say she looked great, beautiful, stunning? Was that weird to say to someone like her? Holy shit, she was attractive. That was just an objective fact. Should I not have mentioned her physical appearance at all? Fuck. I appreciate that. She laughed warmly. Now, do you mean that in a politically correct way, or do you actually find me attractive? My words turned to ash in my throat as it closed up. I gagged. I mean, just messing with you. She tilted her head and grinned. You seem to have difficulty saying what you want to around me. Holy shit, and you remembered me, I wilted. From the rally? Oh, goddammit. Well, of course. She laughed a bit too hard. That's always the fun part. I don't think you know what fun part means, I joked to mask my nervousness. No, really. She shook her head. That was a blast compared to what usually happens. It's nice to just talk with someone occasionally. Refreshing to see someone so honest. Honestly inept at politics, maybe. I laughed. I googled Bill 47A, but don't worry about debating points with me. I only googled enough to know what the heck it even is. Let's please talk about something else. I like that plan. She giggled, but seemed to actually hesitate with her next words. Well, what exactly do you need? I followed up for her. I'm more than happy to help, especially now that I'm not petrified of you thinking I'm some horrible blotch on planet Earth. Right. Her lips pursed. Well, that's just it, actually. The request is rather strange. I'm sorry if it seems out of line. Oh, not at all, I'm sure. I shook my head. Literally, absolutely anything I can do for you. As I said that, I found the night before playing back in my head like grainy video footage. Haze stood alone and silhouetted in the dark, hands working the shovel into the ground again and again, the way she had stood and stared directly back at me. I would like to break that clock of yours, she continued, softly gesturing to it. If you don't mind, of course. I paused, not even realizing I had been bracing for impact. My clock? I echoed, glancing down to it in confusion, nearly going to hand it to her immediately before I realized what she was saying. Why the heck would she want to do that? Oh, this? I cocked an eyebrow. I mean, I guess, I would prefer if you didn't, though. Is there a reason? It actually stopped working last night. Oh? She cocked her head, taking a peek at my room number before smiling. Sorry to hear that, I guess. If I tell you my reason, will you promise not to laugh? Sure? I quickly straightened back up. I guess? I'm not really sure what to expect. Oh, actually, she suddenly paused. As much as I enjoy this conversation and variations of it, I wanted to try something else with you. Again, it may seem strange, but it might be helpful. Sure. Wait, what? I tensed, unable to keep myself from backing up as she approached way too close for comfort. What did you just say? What exactly are you planning on? You have my pen. She spoke softly, pointing to where a pant pocket may have been on her dress. My eyebrows cocked, my hand moving to mirror her movement and check my pant pocket. I reached inside with growing confusion to produce a small black ink ballpoint pen. You'll rot here, she whispered softly as she grabbed it from me, tone shifting to something completely out of nowhere. If you forget everything, remember this: you can be conscious without breaking it. Her forehead clacked against mine as she looked down and grabbed my hand. Her pen rapidly scratched across the back of my palm. I must escape. The ink was scrawled and hasty, yet clearly legible. Suddenly, she twisted my wrist back on itself before slamming it against the wall with a hard crack. I flinched and nearly yelped, horrified confusion invading my face as she finally let go and I wrenched my hand away. What the hell was that? Such a weird thing to do out of nowhere. Her face slowly knitted in flushed embarrassment as she quickly did an awkward dance move, as if forced to do so by an invisible hand controlling puppet strings. She wiggled her hands like someone who had never even attempted to find rhythm in their life, the entire routine frighteningly bad. This wasn't her character. What the hell was happening? Where had I seen this before? After spinning around with a horrid lack of grace, she finally caught her breath and gave a thumbs up to mask her cherry red face. Do you remember yesterday? She finally spoke as if nothing had just happened, standing upright and recapping her pen. She gazed at me curiously, continuing, "How's your arm?" Yes, what the heck was that? I certainly wasn't in any danger of laughing, my only reaction, confusion and concern. What the heck did you just do? That's a no, then. She responded, some genuine disappointment in her voice as her face fell. If that didn't mean anything to you, forget about it. Yesterday, I tried to humor her in my concern. I mean, yes, I remember meeting you and doing some things around the manor. What was that about my arm? Aside from the fact that you just slammed it against a wall. Oh, all right. She nodded solemnly. Listen, John, I'm sorry about that. I like to mess with people sometimes. I don't get many chances to let out weirdness. Can you hold on to this pen? She extended her arm to offer it to me. I stared at the ballpoint pen, a prickling sensation itching at the back of my eyes. The lights above flickered. How did I have that before? I staggered. Are you sure that's your pen? How was that in my pocket already? Oh, all right. She nodded solemnly. Listen, John, I'm sorry about that. I like to mess with people sometimes. I don't get many chances to let out weirdness. Can you hold on to this pen? She extended her arm to offer it to me. I stared at the ballpoint pen, a prickling sensation itching at the back of my eyes. The lights above flickered. Oh, all right. She nodded solemnly. Listen, John, I'm sorry about that. I like to mess with people sometimes. I don't get many chances to let out weirdness. Can you hold on to this pen? She extended her arm to offer it to me. Okay, sure. I staggered, taking the pen. Okay. I put it in my pocket slowly, nervously looking back to the clock in my other hand. Can I ask what the clock is for again? I started. I don't really remember what you said. You'll see. She cocked her head. Okay, that's kinda ominous and not helpful. I laughed quietly. No, you'll see when we investigate it tonight. She looked at me, cocking an eyebrow. Deal? I paled. I mean, Miss, Haze, Once I have free time later, of course. She cut me off. I'll come find you. I'm sure I can speak with management to free up some time. Sure. I mean, that's just my family. I shook my head. I'm sure they'd understand, and I'd love to, but, I mean, are you sure that's... can you... Let me ask you, John. What exactly is it that you think I do? Haze cut me off. What makes me so... Her words suddenly struggled slightly, as if battery acid welled up in her throat. Her eyes blinked at the lights, her pale hand moving to her face to brush at her makeup. Different. She finally kicked out. Well, I staggered. Miss Borden? Are you okay? I'm fine. She blinked out, redness in her cheeks growing as her eyes narrowed to steely slivers and her fists balled. I hesitantly continued. I guess I would have to say I imagine you as a scary, time bomb-infused, emotionless... Her hands snapped out without warning, wrenching the clock from my grasp. Just give me the damn clock, she hissed. Her eyes dropped to the floor, grip on the device violently trembling before her right fist slammed into the wall beside her. Her head bowed, breathing heavy as she stood silently for several seconds. Her hand was lacerated and broken from the impact, shearing a hole in the wood as if possessing supernatural strength. I will do this with or without you, she finally spoke softly and plainly. I don't need you. Silence. She wasn't looking for a response. Her hands grabbed mine, eyes boring into my skin. Darkness squirmed behind her unfeeling gray eyes. I'm scared, she whispered. Her hands squeezed the life from mine as a howl sounded in the distance, flooding her skin with ice. The lights flickered. I hesitantly continued. I guess I would have to say I imagine you as a scary, time bomb-infused, emotionless... Her hands snapped out without warning, wrenching the clock from my grasp. Just give me the damn clock, she hissed. Her eyes dropped to the floor, grip on the device violently trembling before... She slowly sunk in defeat. Oh. Well, never mind, then. She softly continued, wiping away the beginnings of tears. I thought you might have unrealistic expectations, but that all sounds about right. No, I get your point, I laughed. I'm sorry, that must be frustrating. I want to see you as a normal person, but I also don't want to be rude, you know? I'm sure you can do whatever the heck you want. I didn't mean to... I don't know, it's just kind of weird to talk to you, I guess, especially since you're so... I just didn't expect you to be so normal. Normally kind of strange, that is. Which is stupid, I know. She nodded, earrings sparkling. I will talk to management later, she returned, quickly sliding her dress strap back into place as it started to slip from her shoulder. Thank you again for your time. I apologize, my request ran long. I will make it up to you. No, I shook my head, flushing. Really, it's fine. You don't need to talk to them. They'll believe me. I again felt my face redden as she fiddled with her hair, placing a bobby pin in her mouth as she still didn't meet my gaze. Okay then, she finally spoke, placing the pin back in place. Let me know if there's anything I can do then. Enjoy your workday. Right. I snapped back to attention. I'll see you later. I had to take several breaths to calm my heart after she quickly turned and strode away, heels clacking silently on the carpet. She's a ghost hunter. I had to mutter to myself as I shook my head. Of course she is. Why not? I took another deep breath before hurrying down the main staircase. Clanking dishes met me as I jumped through the sliding door, flinging my hat off the rack and onto my head. Sorry, I flailed, catching several gazes. Miss Borden had some questions for me. I didn't realize it was this late. Miss Borden? Roy slid into view from around the corner, tossing me a single hard-boiled egg. Holy shit, what kind of questions? Classic excuse. Sylvia waved her soapy hands, clutching steel wool as her pot splashed into the hot water. I don't buy it, cuz... What kinds of questions? I hesitated as I caught the egg sloppily and my gloves dropped to the floor. I'm not sure. Just general room stuff. Trouble with the heater and whatnot, I guess. Jesus, well, glad you made it through that. Royce gave a sneering look to Sylvia, who returned it with worry. I probably wouldn't have been able to keep my cool. I hope she doesn't talk to me. She sunk down. God, I can't wait until they just leave. I can't believe Cheryl agreed to let him stay here. Royce nodded. Are we really that much of sellouts? Whoa, wait, huh? I blinked, stepping closer as I cautiously swallowed a bite of the egg. What do you mean? What's wrong with them being here? Well, not them, Sylvia sighed. You're right. I guess it's just her. The lights of the room snuffed out as if encroached over by a dense fog. Haze? I replied carefully. I still don't get it. I mean, I don't know anything about her, but she seemed, nice. Royce looked at me in a way I had never seen before, a sort of confused betrayal that nearly knocked me off my feet. His eyes were unfocused and dim, the lacerations across his skull spilling tendons to the murky floor. John, dude? He slurred, limp jaw barely able to hold in his rotting tongue. I can't tell if you're joking. Whoa, wait, what? I quickly retracted my last claim. I mean, she seemed a little, I don't know, I don't understand, what's wrong? Roy split in half with a ghoulish squelch of toxic air, muscles and bloated organs sloshing against the dark ground where Sylvia's bare feet stepped. You tell me. Sylvia's eyes saw nothing as they stared into the distance, broken hands lifting like a marionette. Of course, no one can really prove anything, but anyone with eyes could see she's a compulsive liar. I mean, the things she's done are disgusting. Disgusting? I felt betrayed, trying to wrap my head around this sudden turn. What the heck do you mean? I mean, like she claims things that no one should be able to. Sylvia stabbed her hand against the wall to hold herself upright, legs rotting beneath her. Always to further some agenda for them. What is it you were sent here for? Royce's corpse slithered along the ground, hands snapping against my leg. She has leukemia? My heart froze, further words strangling in my throat. No, she fucking doesn't. Sylvia hissed, hand against my throat in seconds, jagged plate shard cutting into my windpipe. The foul stench of decomposition seared against my flesh, her eyes long receded into her skull, as noxious sludge slithered across her teeth. That's the thing, she continued. Do you remember yesterday, John? I can't believe you guys. My mouth fell open as frigid wind howled through Sylvia's sockets. Royce now stood partially upright with his mangled anatomy. Shadows loomed in on the kitchen, scuttling overhead audible through the ceiling pipes. What the hell is the matter with you? I continued. She doesn't need to prove it. No one should need to prove something like that. What is this, some kind of conspiracy theory? There's nothing convenient about blood cancer. Jesus fucking Christ. Sylvia stepped back, teeth baring as black fur brushed past her legs just out of view. The tension in the air was palpable. Sylvia's distorted hand gripping the plate shard so hard what was left of her flesh flaked away like paper. Without another beat, her broken form slashed forward. The world blurred with red and black as the shards scraped along the inside of my skull, pile driving my head into the wall behind me. Do you remember yesterday, John? She repeated, slowly twisting the object. bone grated against bone, my vision bulging and warping with the movement. Pale hands peeled back ceiling tiles, howling faces pressing grinning smiles through the woodwork. Silence ensued. No one blinked. Slowly, Sylvia's face split open with a large grin at my continued silence. My mistake. Her words slithered out. She snapped her fingers. The lights flickered. Listen. Royce stepped in, lights flooding back into the room as the ghoulish alterations faded. John, man, it's okay, you're right. Obviously, no one can be sure one way or the other. It's unfair of us to demand proof, and maybe she is telling the truth. His eyes again glanced nervously to Sylvia. But the fact that they don't make the results public after being asked to is pretty telling on its own. He looked downtrodden, as if telling me my puppy had died. And she's been proven to have lied about things like that in the past. That's all we're saying. It really feels like her being here is suggesting we forgive her for that kind of stuff. I felt my heart sinking. Jesus, I don't believe it. And somehow everyone seems to freaking forgive her. Sylvia seethed. The media's all over her 1 minute, but she agrees to one stupid interview in that slutty pink dress of hers, and everyone forgets about it the next day. She's so smooth, you can just feel the manipulation laced in, even when she's pretending to be cute and flustered. It's honestly disturbing. Blood dripped down my face. I didn't notice. God, I shook my head. I don't know what to say. I didn't get any of that from talking to her, but I guess I don't really know her either. I didn't know her. Well, either way, Royce tried to lighten the mood. You'll be happy to know Mark got started on the hedges earlier this morning before he had to go, so your work is already partially done. Cool, then you can help me in here sooner. Sylvia grinned. Too many people using too many dishes in this place. Right. I feigned a smile and polished off the egg. Thanks, Royce. See you soon, Sylvia. I was again alone with my thoughts as I stepped out of the kitchen and into the main lobby. Aunt Cheryl sat on a pile of luggage in my peripheries, clacking away at her phone. I put up my hand to wave before quickly losing the drive. My hand sunk back down as I reached the heavy front doors of the manor. I felt chilling wind rush inside to greet me as I put my whole body weight against the wooden slabs. Snow dotted the outside air, my breath curling out like fog. All was eerily silent, the world wrapped in a suffocating shroud of mist and frost. Only my footsteps dared penetrate the void, crunching softly behind me as I made my way around the property. I rounded the side of the manor only to feel exasperation and then concern grip me. Gnarled, overgrown tendrils of hedges had begun to splay out in every direction, the ground littered with dead branches now overtaken by live roots. I blinked in confusion. It looked like these plants hadn't been trimmed in years. How the hell was I the first one to do this? Silhouetted mountains in the distance gazed on with indifference, the flakes of jagged drifting snow already accumulating on the ground. As I gripped my hedge clippers in disbelief, my eyes followed one flake all the way from the inky sky to the frozen ground where it settled upon some upturned dirt. What the hell was that? The snowstorm suddenly mutated into a blizzard, my hands immediately flying up to shield my face from the biting, sideways needles of frost. Before long, I was barely able to make out any features more than a foot in front of me, my body angled towards the howling wind to keep me upright. The minute my footsteps made prints in the snow, the divots were hacked to nothing by the wind, as if I was a specter walking without leaving a trace. It wasn't long before I reached the edge of the hole. Only the wind made any sound. I peered close over the edge, eyes scanning the space. There was nothing inside. "Right," I spoke softly. "Sylvie, the great dishwashing expert, how may I ever have an ounce of your great talent?" "Well, limiting the sarcasm is a start." She rolled her eyes, hands working next to mine at a pace that made my head spin. "Also," her eyes narrowed on a mug in the drying rack, green eyes flashing to me as she cocked an eyebrow. "Well, actually, you're doing pretty good," she shrugged, placing the mug back on the rack. The lights above us were dim, the washing area of the kitchen empty aside from us now. Everything was silent. The sun was choking outside, the dinner dishes gleaming with its final red and orange breaths, stretching shadows long across the dull tiled floor. "Thanks," I shrugged. "I think that's the first time you've said anything nice to me, ever." "Don't get cocky," Sylvia laughed. "You'll still never reach my level." The rest of the dishes went by smoothly. Before long, it was time for me to attend to rooms. I quickly ran up the stairs and down the hall to my room, meaning to drop off my coat before suddenly 3 knocks sounded on my door. A muffled voice called in. "It's Aunt Cheryl! Your room's 32 through 40, all right? We're running a little behind. I grabbed your supplies from the kitchen. You ready?" She tried the handle. "Sure," I shrugged, watching as she opened the door. "Ready?" she repeated with a smile. "Your room's 32 through 40. Yeah, gotcha." I sighed. Leave the stuff here. I'll get right on it." "Well, please hurry," she cheered. "Guests are gonna want to use their room soon." Yep. I stepped forwards to grab a towel from her. "Thanks, Aunt Cheryl." "No, thank you," she smiled, quickly turning around and calling over her shoulder in a playful tone. "I can't tell you whose room is whose, but maybe you can guess." I was genuinely confused for several seconds before it hit me what she was implying. "Wait, is one of them the governor's?" I flailed, hissing it under my breath. "Aunt Cheryl, I'm not sure that's a good idea." She was long gone. My brow furrowed. Jonathan." A voice snapped my eyes up from the cart as I pushed it into the hallway. I nearly crashed into her, she was standing so close. "Oh, hey, Miss Borden." I straightened, seeing that her appearance had disheveled considerably since that morning. Her dress was slightly off kilter, hair down from its ponytail in waterfalls of unkempt gold. Her makeup was smeared, mascara now simply beginning to look like dark rings around her eyes. She looked exhausted. A plate shard was embedded in her left eye, bloody makeup and tears dried in streaks down her face. But more than anything, she looked horrified, in serious agony. There was an anguish about her that took me off guard, lacerations on her body suggesting some form of horrific torture. "Are you free?" She cocked her head with great effort before seeing the way I was looking at her and glancing down to herself. "What?" She winced before faking a laugh and adjusting her hair with splintered nails, some seemingly torn from the nail bed. "I'm sorry, secret's out. I look like trash 99% of the time." "No," I shook my head. You look..." The lights flickered. Are you free?" She cocked her head before seeing the way I was looking at her and glancing down to herself. "What?" she continued before laughing and adjusting her hair carefully with clean, perfect hands. "I'm sorry, secret's out. I look like trash 99% of the time." No, I shook my head. "You look weirdly somehow more attractive," I thought to myself. "Debilitatingly cute." "Great," I choked out. "You look fine. I was gonna go clean some rooms." "I like it better when you say debilitatingly cute," she winced. "But the fluster is fun too. That's fine. If you don't mind, I'm going to quickly change, so perhaps we could meet right here after you get done with the rooms?" I was still just in shock. How the hell did she just read my mind? "That is, of course, unless you're cleaning my room." She cocked her head, eyes narrowing. "In which case, maybe that can wait until after." 2 questions." I paused. 1, what room are you in? And 2, what am I thinking of right now? "Room 36, she spoke dryly. "Though I'm not supposed to tell you that, and you're not thinking of anything right now. You're only thinking about asking that question, I'm guessing." Shit, she was right. I hadn't actually thought of anything. "I'll talk to you soon, John." She covered one of her eyes carefully, turning around and walking off. I stood in silence for a brief period, my mind mulling over her words and trying to make sense of half of them. Every interaction with her felt so surreal. Not like she was crazy, but more just like things felt different around her. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I finally sighed, quickly carting to the first room and grabbing the cleaning supplies. I wasn't sure how long it would take Haze to change, but she would definitely beat me if I wasn't fast. The first 3 rooms went by without a hitch, but as I hesitantly carted past room 36, hearing nothing but dead silence within, I couldn't help but think back to what Sylvia and Royce had talked about earlier. About Haze. Was there a way to bring those things up without accusing her? I wanted so badly to believe they weren't true. The next rooms went by fine as well, up until the last 2. I was hastily changing out soap in the bathroom container when a knock suddenly sounded on the open door to the room. "Housekeeping," I called out. So sorry, be done in a minute." Silence. Haze?" I nervously called again. "Is that—" "Why would you assume her?" Sylvia's voice slithered out, her broken form peeking into the bathroom and smiling. "You doing okay?" Her hands were splattered with blood, a plate shard firmly in her grasp. Flesh was stuck to it as if ripped out of something. An optical nerve dangled limply from the blade as she staggered forward. "Oh," I flinched, fumbling at the soap container before steadying it and trying to act casual. "Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I just have a constant fear she'll come back to harass me again, I guess. I'm doing fine. How'd the dishes go?" The corpse paused for a brief second, as if thinking of an excuse. "Good, I guess," she thought hard. "Yeah. Not too bad." "Lovely," I nodded, screwing back on the soap cap and tossing it into the cart before beginning to make my way out of the bathroom. Sylvia stepped aside to make space, following as we made our way to the last room. "Any problems?" she continued as I fiddled with the key and finally swung the door open. "Heater in 33 was busted last time I checked." "No, I don't think so." I overturned the sheets of the bed, shrugging. I didn't check, but the room felt the same temperature as everything else. It all seemed fine. Awesome, she nodded, walking over and doing the same to the other bed, layering the sheets with putrid blood. That's good, I guess. Maybe Royce got to it. Probably. I moved back to the cart to grab the disinfectant spray that swam with brown decay. You waiting on the cart? Don't think I'd be helping you otherwise, she jeered with a smirk. We finished the rest of the room with surprising speed, closing the door behind us as I handed the keys to Sylvia. Cheryl said the elevator was a little shaky. I handed off the cart as well, when she brought the cart up here, but you probably won't die. Seeing as how I'll definitely die taking it down the stairs, she half laughed, half sighed. I think I'll take my chances. She suddenly paused as she turned around to cart it down the hallway. Oh, by the way, she spun slightly. After our shifts, Joyce christened. Her words drowned out in my head as the door to 36 down the hall suddenly rattled. My limbs froze, legs kicking into action as I immediately nodded and half pushed, half walked with Sylvia towards the elevator. Uh-huh, I nodded, frantically seeing Haze emerge from the room and picking up my pace. Right. Sylvia cocked an eyebrow, going to look where I was before I hastily brought back her attention by waving my arm for no reason. So, Joyce, Chris! I grinned through clenched teeth. Cool, what fantastic people! Right. She frowned, limbs creaking as lacerations slithered across her skin. Okay, but anyway, as I was saying, if you wanted to come along after my shift in like 30 minutes, we're just... I would! I nodded excitedly, slamming the elevator button several times and practically shoving Sylvia and the cart inside as my toothy smile reached my ears. But I've kind of been feeling like death lately, getting a little sick, I think, you know? I might just head to bed, but I'll let you know. What is going on? Sylvia's hand suddenly fished for the plate shard as I just smiled hysterically and prayed for the doors to close. You're acting strange, John. Oh yeah, probably just a cold. I nodded way too eagerly, reaching in and jamming the door close button. No biggie, have fun you guys, I'll just be up here not doing anything you would disapprove of. Enough! Her hands slammed into the closing elevator doors, prying them open as her neck cracked sideways. Don't think I don't see what's going on. An alarm clock suddenly rang out. Sylvia paused, arms locked against the churning doors as her eyes flashed down the stairwell. At the bottom, the wind-up clock rang faintly, jumping up and down as the metal hammer blurred back and forth. That's when a crack of force slammed Sylvia to the ground, causing the elevator to shear slightly off alignment as her hands buckled. The doors pressed against her crumpled form before the entire structure hummed with grinding gears, slowly descending. Sylvia thrashed, a high heel pressed against her neck, stabbed through the rotting flesh and pinning her upper half to the ground outside the elevator, as her legs kicked within. The structure bowed upon encountering her midsection, the weight alone shearing her already putrid, decomposing flesh in half. Expired blood gushed onto the carpet and spilled out into the elevator. Oh, Jesus, I breathed, taking a second to curl over and catch my breath. She doesn't like me. Haze lifted up her heel, leaving the severed body to thrash like a detached lizard tail. I think she's the one who gave me the stink eye on the way in. Fuck. I whirled around before again having to catch my breath, putting my hand over my heart. Oh, hey there. Hey there, she repeated, grimacing. One of her eyes was nowhere to be seen, mangled flesh leaving a bundle of nerves to spill from her socket. She wore something I never expected to see. A regular pink t-shirt and shorts, Her hair was still down, though now intentionally so, long and elegant. A small black puppy was printed on her shirt with the phrase, "Good boy," just below it in teal text. She still wore high heels, one of them now splattered with gore. For as quirky and frazzled as the outfit was, it still had a strange air of put together I couldn't imagine anyone else in the world pulling off. She quickly bent down and tied a strip of cloth around Sylvia's eyes while keeping her face down. The corpse continued to fight every movement, clawing and scratching at Haze's arms. Somewhere distant, something howled. Haze's left hand quickly snapped around mine, yanking me down the hall. "No victory, Cheeto, tonight," she hissed.